and welcome to another episode of the Tall Talk podcast with myself, James, and my brother Dan. And today we're going to be talking about the abuse of referees, mainly because of what's happened with the whole Mike Dean situation, where if you don't know, he receives a lot of death threats and abuse sort of thing online after the Suchek incident, where he sent him off after looking at VAR sort of thing to double check it. He still got a red card, even though it looked like a completely accidental brushing of the face with his elbow sort of thing. And even Mitrovic, who he collided with, said to Mike Dean afterwards that it wasn't a red card. But obviously the main point here is that Mike Dean has been received so much abuse and so many death threats that he's asked not to actually referee any games this weekend. So we're going to talk about the effects of the abuse and stuff like that, and about obviously it's not right, but we want to talk a bit more in depth about it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see the incident myself. Did Mitrovic go down?
He did, yeah. He rolled around like he'd been shot.
So then, why is he saying after that he's that nothing happened?
Well, I think that's one of the points. Yeah, he's sort of incited the incident, but I'm not. I think he was playing for the penalty more than for the card, and then when he realised what was happening.
So for another question then that's just sort of popped up in my head, and I'll ask it while like that. It's there. Do you not think that Mitrovic should get action taken against him then? If they've taken the red card off of the West Ham player, should he not then be like prosecuted or whatever? Yeah, exactly. Because you get booked for diving, don't you? So
yeah,
he's clearly made a meal out of it. And then if he's got the audacity to come out after and say, "Yeah, it wasn't," personally, I think that's worse than just coming out and saying, "Yeah, he did," because he's just admitted that he's cheating, and that is cheating in my eyes.
yeah, but I think you're right there. Obviously, looking like that, maybe there should have been some retrospective action done, but it never works out like that. If anybody gets sent off for tackling somebody and it turns out they've dived in the box, the red card never gets flipped over to the other player. Maybe it should. Maybe that's one way to cut out cheating, sort of thing.
Well, Salah's dived again, didn't he? Against Arsenal, Man City. Sorry.
Yeah,
that was pretty horrendous. What I don't understand though is that it's when you get when you trip, say just in normal life, if you trip or fall, the first thing you do is put your arms out in front of you, and that's just a natural reaction. Your natural reaction is to put your arms out. You don't throw them behind you. The only time that you ever throw your arms behind yourself is if you get shot by a high caliber bullet. The first thing your arms do is go backwards, and that's where the phrase "oh, where's the sniper in the stand?" because that when people get shot by snipers, that's what happens with their body. Their arms will fly back, not forward. But obviously, if you get tripped or if you're going to fall or anything, that's what your natural reaction to do is put your arms out in front of you. So
not to do a half turn into a pike and then into a backward roll sort of thing.
Exactly. And like taking that back to the referees, I think at times they need to look at that as well, because it's the problem is that football in itself has dug itself a massive hole. It's no different to offside. They've dug themselves massive holes with that, because with VAR now they can like the Shea Adams goal against United that didn't count, and I mean he was
Shirtley, wasn't it?
I don't know. I think it was his knee or something, but his knee was. It was ridiculous. He would not have gained an advantage from his knee being offside, and I get what them.
Also, say the way you could look at it is obviously if he was a millimeter back and his knee was onside, it would have been no different result, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean that's where I think, because they talk about natural daylight between the players. I think that is excessive. I don't think that they should have natural daylight between the player, because you can be side on, and you could gain a massive advantage from just the width of someone's body. But I mean but yeah, that minute, I think they're just creating problems with themselves, and also with diving, because the players will go down and they're told to go down. because these matches mean so much. There's so much money in the industry, in games and stuff like that, that it's not a case that it's, if they don't go down, then that's fair play and stuff. It's millions that we're talking about that it could potentially be. So that's the lengths that people go to and that they've got to go to for their clubs. So, and also their managers, because if say Salah got touched and he didn't go down and they lost the game 1-0, or it was 0-0 and they could have won it there, then Klopp would be raging at why didn't you go down? And I think, like I say, there's a massive culture. People call certain people divers, but I think that's the way that now that kids have trained, like growing up to learn and stuff. And I just think it's when I was playing when I was younger, we were told we were still in sort of Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira days, so you'd want you'd want to get into tackles, you want to pretend that they didn't hurt you, didn't want to show any sign of weakness, but I don't know, it's completely different now, and I don't think that's helped refs because it makes their job a damn sort harder. And with VAR as well, I think that every ref decision is under the telescope during the game, after the game. Normally it'd be, was this offside or that, and they'd freeze frame it or something after the game, and then they'd be like, oh, that's really close, or that, and that would be it. Whereas now it's like, oh no, they've drawn lines on there, you can see that he's an inch off. So that's what I mean by where do you draw the line, because they're digging themselves a hole, because they've got to give it offside because technically he is offside, but is he gaining an advantage from being in that offside position? I don't think an inch would make much difference in terms of, for instance, the Shea Adams goal where he still carried the ball another 20 yards, 24 yards or whatever, and put it in the back of the net. So, yeah.
I think going back to the whole Souček incident sort of thing, I think in terms of Mike Dean's decision making, I guess in the quick view, the glance that he had, then maybe it could have been a red card sort of thing. But it's the fact that he had the footage there to view afterwards that got people so incensed, because he still came to the same conclusion after watching the footage back that it was an intentional elbow by Souček to Mitrovic, which, having watched it myself, the contact there is literally minimal. We're talking like brushing, the elbow is literally grazing his face, if that, and you can quite clearly see that he's doing it to try and get his arm behind Mitrovic. And obviously, I've looked at the pundit reviews, and Jamie Redknapp saying that he can't believe it either. There's no way that there should be that decision comes to conclusion after the VAR, because that's what the VAR is there for. And I was looking at the look at the Ref Watch on Sky Sports as well, and Dermot Gallagher was saying that when you look at the VAR, he says that he's not quite sure why he still comes to the same conclusion of the red card. He said it's just a complete error. So,
which they're entitled to do as well, though. They're still human, like humans looking at things, and I think at times people forget that. I completely agree. If they're going to carry on with VAR, then they need to have a set of rules that are waterproof. That just they won't. It's black and white. Is that a foul? Yeah. Yes, that's a foul. They can't have this. You can't have, because VAR was brought in to sort of overturn clear and obvious decisions. It's not doing that. So it's, with slight offsides, stuff like that, that's not a clear and obvious error.
Yeah.
So they've already changed it, like moved the goalposts there already, because it's not in there for what it's meant to be. It's meant to be if there's a genuine offside that people are like, oh, can't believe he's missed that, to all of a sudden drawing lines on a pitch and seeing if their toes offside.
Yeah.
And I think, like I say, that puts a lot of pressure on the referees to then make the right decision, because the referee then goes to the television monitor and then they go, well, technically he's offside, so I've got to give it offside.
Yeah.
But it's not a clear and obvious error. And it's no different to the Southampton defender that got sent off, as well as David Luiz, because they got sent off for pretty much the same thing. But yeah, the Southampton defender was clearly trying to get out of the way, and he clipped him. And I believe David Luiz was running back, and as he was chasing him back, he clipped his knee and he went down. And they're like, well, he didn't try and play the ball. Well, that's fine. So what you're then saying to the exactly, and then you're saying to the players, go and wipe the player out, completely wipe him out, and say you were trying to get the ball, and you won't get sent off. That makes no sense. That makes no sense to me. I just don't get it.
I think that's what gets me going to the Bednarak and the Louise challenges. They are very, very similar. I've seen them both, sort of thing. And the Bednarak got away with it because it looked like he was trying to play the ball more. No, he pulled out of the challenge, didn't he? That's what they were saying. He tried to pull out the challenge, whereas David Luiz didn't try and pull out the challenge. He must have only played the man. But the thing I would say about the Louise challenge is that obviously I'm not a referee, I'm not an expert, sort of thing. But as somebody watching it and watching it in real time, is that Willian Jose has gone to take his shot, and as he's brought his foot back to shoot, he's hit David Luiz's knee, and it's barely grazed it, sort of thing. All David Luiz was doing, from what I could see, is he was running back. I know people will say he changed his angle, sort of thing, to try and impede him trying to get the shot off. But from what I could see, is all he did was Willian Jose went to take the shot, and he's come back and he's kicked David Luiz's knee. But as you say, if David Luiz had literally gone straight through the back of him and tried to get the ball, then it would have only been a yellow card.
Makes no sense. Yeah. And he could have risk of injury to the players as well.
Well, that's it. And I think the thing that always, I know we've gone a bit off topic now, but the thing that always stuck with me is that you always get a red card if you're the last man, whether you try and get the ball or not.
Yep.
If you're the last man and you take someone out and it's a clear and obvious goal scoring opportunity, then it's a red card no matter what.
And that was easy.
Why did that have to change? What was wrong with that rule?
Exactly. And like we was talking about Bednarak as well. He's you can see what he was doing, but because there's so much pressure on referees to not change clear and obvious errors, but follow a set of rules that I'm not sure if anyone understands. He's then gone to the monitor, and then he sent him off.
Yeah.
So he's gone to the monitor and he said, right, he's talking to obviously his mate in his ear, and he's kind of said, well, he's technically last man. He hasn't attempted to play the ball, so you need to send him off. And that isn't, in my eyes, how football should be officialed or managed.
No, I agree. I think the thing that you got to say about VAR is that it was brought in to make the referees' lives easier. And at this season and last season, all it's done is made it harder, because I think there's so much pressure, as you said earlier, on them to get the right decision. And I think fans are expecting the referees, if they don't get the decision right straight away, then the VAR is always going to be there to overturn it. But as you say, there's got to be a clear and obvious error for it to be overturned. So if the referee's made a wrong decision anyway, but it's marginal, then you can't overturn it, sort of thing.
It's the same with handballs as well, though. They've got ridiculous now as well. You never know what's going to be handball and what's not. I get that they're trying to use the silhouette of a person, but still, when you jump, you don't jump like a pencil. You always jump with your arms up. It's not directly above your head, I know, but still, it's, I don't know. It just seems that every year they try to tweak something because if minority are complaining about it, like you'll get the minority that, well, his toes offside, so he's offside.
Yeah.
Which, okay, if you want to do it like that, then you can't moan when the outcome, because they'll be the first people that moan about VAR and the referees as soon as something doesn't go their way. But I don't know, this where people are offside and they're not in play, and then there's a phase 2 where they can then come back into play. I just think they should do, if they're offside, they're offside in terms of, if your right winger's offside but the ball's on the left-hand side and your right winger's still standing in an offside position, I don't care, he's offside. He might not be interfering with the ball, but watching a lot of wingers nowadays, they're lazy at getting back. So that's their own problem, and it might force them to, work their way back quicker. But I don't know. It's you change one and it affects the other.
Yeah, I think so. Um, in the whole regards to the Mike Riley incident,
Mm.
I think I know we've said before is that any kind of abuse isn't acceptable. And I said to you before we started recording, I said never before has a decision gone against my team, and I thought that the first thing I'm going to do is send a death threat to the referee's family. I don't understand these people's logic. Like, what kind of headspace are you in where football is that much of your life, where you want to send a death threat to a referee because they've sent somebody off and they shouldn't have done, or they've allowed a goal they shouldn't have done, or they've disallowed a goal but they should have stood, sort of thing.
I think it falls back down to what we spoke about before with social media needs to start taking responsibility for.
Yeah,
They need to be marshalling their own sites, which they don't do. So it's easy for people to hide behind fake accounts. It's easy for people to, no one. Well, I say no one. Any person with two brain cells wouldn't do it off their own account, because when it gets reported, which I believe Mike Riley's gone to the police and reported all these death threats, that they'd have their details straight off. So obviously they just make up these fake accounts and then they can start doing it. But that's down to the social media, to each platform to manage their own sites to eradicate all this.
I think that's the main thing, as you said. As you said, we've discussed it before briefly. Is that these social media accounts should be verified with passports or something like that, so that they've got their details
Mm.
registered with the social media site. So if anything does happen, then they can automatically be traced back to the person
Mm.
with contact details type thing.
And I know that isn't fair on the masses, because the masses use social media for the right reasons, but it's no different to anything in life. You get a couple of idiots, and then all of a sudden everyone has to be treated the same for that reason. But
a couple of people ruin it for everyone.
yeah, but like when we were talking beforehand, you said about like the chap that was on the radio saying, when he used to, I can't remember which one you said it was.
Oh, it's Dermot Gallagher.
Oh yeah, when he used to referee, he just used to get a load of earache off of the fans in the stadium, and that would be it. Whereas now, everyone's online, everyone's got an account, everyone's got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. And I think if I was a referee, I just wouldn't be on social media. I don't think, but I couldn't think of anything worse.
I don't think Mike Riley's on social media, but I think it still obviously gets home, especially if people are sending death threats like to his house or something, or email or something.
I think it's to his family as well. I think, so I'm sure he's got. Well, I'm not sure, but I'm guessing that he's got wife, kids, and stuff. So, and I think kids are probably what our age. I think probably like between 20 and 30. So I'm back end of that now, but can't use that phrase for much longer. But yeah, so there'll be some of them might even have their own families as well. So it's I don't know. It's just baffling.
Referees' jobs are hard enough. I mean, as you said earlier, everyone's human. Everyone makes mistakes, sort of thing. You can't expect these people to be robots and get every decision right all the time, sort of thing, because that's what VAR is supposed to do anyway. But you can't blame the referees in the stand for it, in the pitch for it. Sorry, but I just don't get it. I know we've spoken about abuse before and stuff like that. And it all comes back to social media governing it, but
who has the time?
Why would you do it either? What do you personally gain out of saying?
Can you imagine a game on a Sunday? You just say you've just sat down at Sunday lunch with your family or whatever, and then put the football on, and the kids are messing around or whatever, and you're sitting there watching the football. Decision don't go your way. Anyway, football's done. Got to get the kids ready for bed. They've got school tomorrow. Oh, hang on a minute. I'm going to spend 20 minutes writing out a death threat to the referee that didn't give my team the decision. It just don't make sense.
No.
They've clearly got more time on their hands than the normal regular person has. And to be honest, a lot of people say, and a lot of people that create abuse and give abuse on a social media platform is just a reflection of their own lives, and it's a reflection of how bitter and twisted they are. So they'll sit there and call, say, for instance, they'd sit there and go, "Oh, you're ugly," but really they're just very insecure themselves. So that's why they do it, and that's why they hide behind these accounts so that they can not so much live a different life, but feel like that they're empowered and feel like that they're someone different from what they are because they've got their own insecurities.
And I think saying that also it's not a justification for what they're saying, sort of thing.
No, not at all. But I think it's not to justify. I just think it's an explanation for it. I think people are so caught up in, being the big I am and stuff that, I just don't get it. I find it hard. I couldn't think of anything less than what I'd want to do than after a game to sit down and see if I can type out a racially abusive message to players or, death threats to referees. And the thing is that you're only going to push more and more people away from refereeing as well, because refereeing is hard as anything anyway. I've done my referee qualifications when I was younger, and I was only about 16, 17 at the time, and I used to referee our local team, and I think they were like under 14s or under 15s, and I mean that was bad, and it weren't so much the kids playing; it was the mums and dads on the side. Oh, it was you'd have parents effing and blinding on the side, and then I was just like, I'm getting what £12 to do this. I'm like, what am I doing?
I helped out once when I was at school again, refereeing a football match sort of thing for like the year 7s or something like that. And I was like in year 10 or 11. I was just doing the school a favour by doing the reffing because no other teacher available. They were away, sort of thing. I remember I had to give a penalty because some kid had come through and absolutely clattered this other one. It wasn't purposeful, sort of thing, but you didn't have red yellow cards type thing.
Yeah,
but you came through and clattered him, and I gave a penalty. And there's this kid's dad on the sideline shouting and swearing at me, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the PE teacher on the sideline, and he's just looking at him, going, "What are you doing? Like just give it a rest, sort of thing." Like they're year 7s. The other thing is also, we'll probably cover this in a separate video because it sounds like it could be quite an in-depth topic about pushy parenting type thing.
Well, yeah.
But is if you look at it, that you don't want your kids to be seeing that anyway. So this does sort of relate back to the whole
kids
incident.
Reflect. So they're so so moldable at that age as well. That if they see dad doing that, they're gonna think that's oh well, dad does it, so I'll do it, and it doesn't matter what anyone says.
Yeah, I think that's right. Is that that's the thing, is like the kid's going to see their dad shouting and swear at the referee, and he's going to think that's perfectly normal and perfectly acceptable thing to do. I mean, as a parent myself, and you're a parent obviously as well, all you want to do is just you want to try and you try not to swear around your kids. Obviously, sometimes it's not. Obviously, sometimes things slip out, sort of thing, as a parent anyway. But if the football's on, I try and keep as calm and collected as possible because I don't want little ones pick up on any of the sort of negative things about football. Because I remember when I was younger, I came into football relatively late. I don't think I started to be as big into football until the end of primary school type thing. But the sheer enjoyment of football, it just seems to have been sucked away by idiots like abusing players. Like you've got Rashford, you've got Martial, you've got these players. They're black and they're enjoying. They're playing the sport they love, and it's being ruined by idiots that are just sending them abusive hate messages and death threats, sort of thing, just because they're black and their team lost.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, we're not saying that you can't be frustrated at your football team. I mean, I'm at times I'll sit there and I'll be like, how is he playing? What's he's not even playing for the badge on his shirt and stuff like that. And we all say it and stuff. But in the same aspect, I don't then go to social media, create a new account, and then chuck racial or any other stereotypical or abuse at them because, what's the point? Like, I just don't get it.
You gain nothing by doing
No.
that, other than the fact that if it comes back to you, all you do is gain a criminal record.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is that people are stupid enough to do it off their own accounts. Which I was watching a YouTube channel that does like a fan. It's like a fan sort of channel, and he's doing a live stream, and basically someone because on YouTube you can do super chats, can't you? Where you pay
Yeah.
money to and they read them out, and he basically paid this chap to read this message out, and it was about the Munich air disaster because obviously that was this weekend, just gone, and he like put up like part of this song that's quite horrible to
Yeah.
that accident and stuff, and he looked at it and he was like, "How stupid are you? You've just paid, so that means you've put your details in to
Yeah.
pay to do that." And he said that is prosecutable as well because that's sort of hate speech towards a disaster that happened or whatever. It's no different to if someone went out in public and started laughing and joking and making silly comments about the Hillsborough disaster. It's just I don't get it really.
I think there's a difference between freedom of speech, because obviously freedom of speech is quite important. You've got the freedom and ability to say whatever you want to, but there are limits to it. I mean, I know people say your free speech is no longer free, but
Hmm.
I think that's fine. I don't want to live in a society where free speech means that you can send death threats to a referee's family, or you can
Yeah,
send
yeah.
racially abusive comments to people.
But
Who wants to live in that kind of world? I don't want free speech like that.
no,
Who wants free speech like that?
no, that's it. And I think that the problem is that society doesn't help itself in that aspect because you've got so many people that are quick to any. There's difference between hate speech and speech that you hate, and it's like there's too many people in society now that as soon as they because you don't debate anything anymore. You can't have two people with two different opinions speak about a topic, and if you were like, oh, I hate I hate I hate homosexuals, say, and then I was like, well, I like homosexuals, and we sat down and had a conversation. Nowadays, you couldn't sit down, and I couldn't see things from your point of view, and you couldn't see things from my point of view. Nowadays,
Yeah.
it's just literally, as soon as you say, oh, I'm not really fond of homosexuals, say, and I'm not saying James isn't, by the way, and I'm just using this as an example solely. But yeah, if you said that, I could just go, that's hate speech, and then create a whole palaver over it. And that's the problem, is that we go from one extreme to the other about different subjects, whereas really you need to look at the most serious ones that are, threatening someone's life is a massive issue.
Yeah.
Making people not feel safe within their homes is a massive issue. But, disagreeing on someone's, you know, um, opinion, so to speak, and I'm not linking that with what I used before. It's like I say, if someone's got a difference of opinion, that doesn't mean that like that's hate speech and stuff. And that's the problem, is that everything's so blurred now because everything's always blown out of proportion, and like we said before, the media don't help and stuff, and it's you don't know where you stand most of the time. You get a lot of people that just sit there and they're worried about to say anything at all because you just don't want to upset someone.
Yeah. I think if we're as I say, looking back sort of thing across what we've spoken about in this episode, I think what people have just to quickly recap sort of thing, I think what people have said about Mike Dean and his family is completely unacceptable. There's no room for that kind of thing in today's society, especially if you look towards his family. You shouldn't send death threats to anyone for anything, regardless as to what's going on. But I think we're going to look at covering it possibly because we've spoken about some topics which would probably work quite well in the future for future videos.
Yeah, yeah.
It's in regards to, I know we said about it before, is racial abuse in fans and about fan passion, whether it's a problem or not.
Mm.
And so if we just quickly round up this video, my question for you, Dan,
Yeah.
is your VAR.
Yeah.
Do you like it or not? Or do you think that we can be
I
improved?
miss. I don't know. It's difficult because of the fact that football's changed so much as well. So I miss the times of Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira. You just football used to be football. I remember watching not too long ago. I watched. I can't remember what year it was exactly, but where Wimbledon were in the FA Cup final against Liverpool, and I think it was the FA Cup final. And literally in the first 30 seconds, Vinnie Jones just went straight through the Liverpool player. And he didn't even get a card or anything. And nowadays he would probably get 6-match ban for it. But
6-month stretch.
Yeah, I don't think it. It's hard to compare because football without VAR is still going to be a non-contact sport. Basically, that's what it is now. It's a very you're borderline contact sport now, and I think VAR complicates that a lot because people are like, oh, he's got his arm on his shoulder or something, so he must have pulled him back. Where realistically, he's just put his arms touched his shoulder. So, and you put that into slow mo and you play it over and over again, and we all know that tackles and stuff in slow motion look so much worse than in real time. And you've also taken out now that they're going on about the follow through. That's sorry, don't get me wrong. You can go through a ball and you can intentionally hurt a player after, and that can be done. But a lot of the time, when you're sliding, taking the ball, you don't always have control over each and every limb. So sometimes things like studs end up in different places and stuff, but not always are they malicious. And the problem is when they slow that down and then you start watching that again and you watch it over 3-4 times, you're like, oh, did he just lift his foot a bit? Or and that's where I think all the confusion and stuff comes in. I think it's just I'd prefer VAR not to be in and literally just be that it's personal mistakes and just human error. Human error was such a big part of football. Good or bad, people might turn around and say, well, I'm glad it's not in there anymore, but I don't know. I just I feel that VAR with the ability of slowing it down and being able to watch the same tackle 3-4 times
isn't always
in
helpful.
slow motion. I think it makes stuff worse. But yeah, what do you think?
I think for me personally, I have always been a big caller for some sort of video technology or some sort of reviewing footage. I think the thing that really sparked it for me was England versus Germany in the World Cup when Frank Lampard had that shot, and it hit the bar and went in. And as soon as I saw it, I instantly thought it was a goal, and it obviously wasn't given. And I think that is the thing for me that really sparked the argument for goal line technology.
Yeah. The thing with that is goal line technology is very different to VAR because I can't remember a time where I don't think there's been many times where the ball's crossed the line and it's not been picked up on the referee's watch. That bit.
I think it's the one time, and that was Bournemouth. I think it was, wasn't it?
I can't remember. That's why I said I can't remember a time. Then I was like, I can't remember many times because I all of a sudden something flicked into my head, and I was like, was that it? I think it was
Bournemouth, Sheffield United.
Sheffield United, because I think it helped Sheffield United stay up, did it? Sheffield United.
It helped relegate Bournemouth.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, like I say, I mean, it's very rare that goes wrong, and I feel that's a bit of technology that's very good for the game because it's quick, it's instant, and I don't feel that there's that many mistakes where you're like, oh well, goal line technology and stuff. We never have those conversations. Whereas VAR, every weekend you'll have 2-3 games that oh, VAR done this, VAR done that. I, I'm a massive cricket fan, and technology in cricket's fantastic, but also it works with the platform that it's being used in. Football,
Yeah,
I don't
I think it's
think
too.
is.
I think it's too fast paced for.
Yeah, I don't think it's the right sport to have that sort of technology. Don't get me wrong, other technology, like I say, goal line technology, and that, love that because it seems straightforward, easy. You never have any, well, never really have many
Normally,
troubles with it. Yeah, but like I say, I mean, with the VAR side of stuff, I just feel there's too many. Because even when the referee goes to the monitor, looks at the monitor, it's still down to his opinion, and his opinion
yeah.
might be different to mine, which will be different to yours, which will be different to Jerry down the
See,
road. You know, it's just it's still about opinion. I still think that if the referees are in charge to referee and official that game, it needs to be them. And it
I
needs to
tell
be
you,
consistent as well.
I tell you what I think is a really interesting point, and it would be really interesting to see if they looked at investigating it. I can't remember who it was, but a pundit at the weekend said in the VAR room they should have a former player
Hmm.
to help advise on the situation because I think that would really help on incidents like the
Yeah.
David Luiz, like the Bednarak incident, because they can give their advice as a former player, and I think that would be something that would really benefit the VAR. If they're going to continue the VAR system, I think that's something they should definitely look at doing. It's the
I,
same as in Formula One, where in the stewards' inquiry afterwards, they have former racers because they can give their own opinions on racing incidents. So,
mm,
any incidents that they met, sort of accidents or anything like that, they can give their own opinions on it. And I think that would definitely help the VAR if they're going to carry on with it. That would be my key suggestion. Obviously, I've got no say in it, but that's what I
mm.
would definitely say to do.
I think personally, I don't agree with that. I don't because the problem you have with that is that if you're bringing in an ex-footballer, you're bringing a footballer in from a different generation. So, say an ex-footballer, you bring, for instance, I don't know, Robbie Savage, who was not known for his footballing ability as much as other things, but you know, he's gonna. If you're gonna say what's your he's gonna look back to when he played, and football's a completely different game now to how it was 20 years ago, say, or
You
15
say
years
that.
ago. I
You say that,
think,
but equally, the amount of times I watch the football and the amount of pundits say, "Well, you would have got away with that this many years ago, but now you can't get with that sort of challenge." You
yeah.
even hear Graham Souness saying it, and he played what
Mm.
two generations ago.
Yeah, but then that's a good point because then that shows that their experience and stuff is irrelevant because they're just going by how the game's played now. So
Yeah,
you know, that's anyway. That's my that's just me being
that's it. That's it. That's it.
confrontational.
But that's it. I think it's good that we're discussing sort of thing, and that leads us sort of on to the end of the video where
Mm.
we say to you guys listening,
What do you
if you
think?
agree with any of our points, yeah, what do you think? If you agree with any of our points, disagree with any of our points, let us know in the comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Just keep listening. Let us know what you think.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, I think
Any
we're
future
starting
video ideas you want as well? Let
definitely,
us know.
definitely.
But yeah, other than that, yeah, we're enjoying doing it. It's something that we enjoy doing. It's pretty much just us having a conversation, and we decided to record it and put it up. And
Yeah,
if you guys want to join in, you're more than welcome to. We'd love to have you here. And like I say, future ideas, stuff you want to hear, like opinions about, or whatever, just drop us a comment and stuff. But yeah, until next time, thank you for listening.